This is Real Life with Deb Waterbury, a real show for real people with real issues. And now, here's your host, Dr. Deb Waterbury.
Welcome to this episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. I am joined during this motherhood series, and I'm really excited about my guest today. It is my friend, Lakisha Deon. Hi, Lakisha.
Hi.
And we are actually in Lakisha's Salon. And I want to let you tell us a little bit about the salon before we even get started, because Lakisha could have actually filled lots of our categories for moms: working mom, Christian mom, military mom. But we're going to talk today in particular about being a military mom, which she and I both are. And I know a lot of my watchers and listeners are military moms, and it does take on a whole other aspect of motherhood sometimes.
Absolutely.
Just being in the military or having a spouse in the military or when you're both in the military, it adds a whole other dimension. So we felt like we needed to have at least one show just about that. But Lakisha, tell us where we are right now first.
So we're in Studio 98 Salon. It's a salon that my husband and I opened, being a military spouse and also a military brat myself. So every 3 years moving and having to pick up life once you get to your new duty station.
Yes.
And there's 3 things that I always do when we get to our new location, and everybody laughs. So the first thing is find a church.
Yes, amen.
The next thing is find my glam squad,
Oh,
not a house.
I was going to say hair. My thing was not house, hair.
Glam squad. I need to know where to get my makeup. I need to know who's going to do my eyebrows, my hair, all of that, which is hard sometimes because not in new locations, not everybody looks like me or have the same texture of hair.
Right.
And so that's always one of the main things, because I have lodging. We have temporary lodging, and then we look for the house.
Right.
So as long as I have those 2 first things in place.
Yes. You can be a happy camper.
Exactly. I can stay in lodging all day looking pretty.
As long as my hair is done and makeup.
Yes.
I am with you.
But we opened this up, and we're not far from the military base here. And it again, to help families with that transition, because we're always moving. And then on top of that, you find in the military community a lot of biracial children. And a lot of times the moms don't know how to handle their hair. They're like, I don't know what to do with this. You go fix it. And I'm more like, okay, I know you don't know how to do this, but let me teach you.
Right.
I don't care if you don't pay me. I want you to learn how to do your daughter's hair, because that's part of bonding.
Absolutely.
That's the bonding time.
Yes.
So we opened up Studio 98 last year, and it was a God thing, because we were planning to open up the business this year, just start the process. And we call it Studio 98 because in 1998 is when Alonzo and I met. And we talked about traveling the world, having 4 kids, and opening up businesses to make an impact in our community. So through the military.
You've done all 3 of those things.
Exactly.
Even down to the 4 kids.
Exactly.
Yes. And she's got 4 lovely kids. But they are boys. 3 of them are boys and 1's a girl.
Yeah, 1's a girl, and the baby is the girl, and she has rocked our world.
Well, as every woman should.
Yeah.
And she is your daughter. So,
she is.
So rocking the world came just genetically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Lakisha and I met, I guess about a year and a half ago, when she was a guest on my show.
Yes.
Talking about For Tucson, which is another thing that we do here in Tucson, and she's in the business domain director there for that, and I'm now moving into a new position as the COO there. But she also went to Africa with me and was able to speak to many of our Malawian students of the school, the Reap What You Sow school, about the business aspect of what they're doing and giving them a lot of good pointers. So she and I have forged this relationship. But, it began, I think, in truth, this thing that we shared with being both military wife and a military mom.
Yes.
And those really are challenging and many people have heard the statistic that the divorce rate is so much higher in the military. And there's a reason for that. It's higher because it's more difficult, because our spouses are gone often. It also is a really big impact on our children. And there's a lot of negative statistics out there about being a military brat, and the impact that has, the moving around. I know my boys, when we moved here, we've been here 22 years now, but when we moved here, we had been married for 12 years and it was our 13th move, and my boys were, there for all those moves.
Yeah.
That's really, it can draw a family together, but it can also make them so isolated that often they feel they're very much alone.
Yes.
And so I know we have a lot of military moms who watch the show, and we wanted to be able to kind of speak to that. Yeah. And since you have 4 kids,
yes,
you are probably even better at it than I am. And there, you have to add in that whole being a Christian as well.
Yes.
Because there is that, we've got a responsibility first and foremost.
Absolutely. To
our Savior. It's, our God, and then our husbands, and then our children. And so understanding how to balance all of that stuff too. So what I want to do is spend a lot of time just kind of asking Lakisha what her experiences have been, and what kind of the wisdom you can give to us, and then we'll just have this conversation about what it's like to be a military mom, and some things maybe that you've seen. So one of the things I wanted to first ask you is, and again, you and I can talk to this too much, but what do you think is the biggest difference between being a military mom and then being a mom outside of the military?
In the military, we have no choice where we are going to live.
Right.
So we're definitely leaving and cleaving to our spouse. And there's been situations where we move to a new location, and within a week, he only has enough time to check in, tell us where we're going to be laying our head down, and then he's off to work.
Right.
And we won't see him for 12 hours after that, or 14 hours sometimes. And it's challenging. There's a part of you start to tap into this strength that you don't know you have until you're in this moment of weakness.
Amen.
And being a military spouse and a young mom, because when we first got married, we had the wedding, we went away for our honeymoon, I came back, packed up, and I was off. I didn't have my mom and dad. We did not live in the same state. We lived in Delaware. My parents were in Georgia. So that support where you would run to your mom or call her or what have you, if you had a little tiff with your husband, with your spouse, I couldn't do that. And I think that's what made us stronger, to tell the truth, because that distance kept family from imparting their opinion on your marriage.
Yes.
And it forced us to truly, truly seek God and not seek man for what we should do in our marriage.
That's such a great point to make, because it is, and it's about being a believer first, and knowing that we are to seek out the Father in the midst of those things. Because
Absolutely.
I do think that's the deciding factor between marriages that work in the military and marriages that don't, is that the ones who don't, especially believing marriages who don't work, is because they've lost that first principle of, this man is not my end-all be-all. My Savior is, and my family's not. And we do have the, I guess maybe it could be seen as a positive impact that we don't have our families near us, though it is much more challenging, especially when babies enter.
Oh yes, or just going through your pregnancy away from your mom. So those things that you don't really have a mother figure to go and ask, because most other women that you're around
are in your shoes.
Exactly. They're young moms as well too.
Right.
You don't really have access when you're in your early 20s to the more mature mothers that were there. I didn't either. And so it's tough, but I found that when we moved overseas, God just implanted us into this family. In the Word it says that He will take the solitary and put them with the family. And each time we moved, He put us with a family. So immediately I had women that had been doing this 10 years above the time that I was doing it, and they immediately attached to me. And it was nothing but God that put on their heart, go seek that child out before she messes up.
Right.
And I mean, they were the ones who scolded me as if I was a mom, as if they were my mom. They were the ones who were there to hug me and when I was crying and I just didn't know what to do. And they were the ones who encouraged me, continue to seek God. Yes, hear what I have to say, but you need to go and speak to God yourself. You need to develop that relationship, and He's going to bring you through this. And I look back over, we've been married since 2002, so that's I'm always, I'm the one that always forgets. We've been together for 21 years, but married for 18 years, and I look back over all of that time, right? And I think about, wow, we've came through a lot. Mm-hmm. I was essentially a married mom, a married woman, but a single mom because of how many hours he had to work.
Yes.
So there's a piece of you that just kind of wakens up and says, okay, this needs to keep going.
Yes.
Even though, yes, word says God first, and then your marriage, but in the military comes between God in that marriage. Mm-hmm. And you can't be offended by it because one, it's protecting our country, mm-hmm. it's providing for our family, mm-hmm. It's providing skills and resources that I would have never received if I stayed in one city.
That's good.
But the challenging part is you have to dig really, really deep, mm-hmm. and learn how to tap into things that you would have normally never have done.
Very good. I think that's such good advice because you can almost want to draw into yourself, mm-hmm. and then be angry with your spouse, angry with your situation. You can take that out on so many different levels.
Exactly.
But it is, and I think you said at the very beginning, Lakisha, which is where I think that we have to, as believers, as military moms, believers, is that when you do make these very multitude amounts of moves and mm-hmm. you're away from family and it's hard to move every 1, mm-hmm. 2, 3 years and have to have new friends and mm-hmm. and a new church and all that stuff, but you have to be sure that church, that your relationship with God is the very first thing on your priority list, because I had mine, because I didn't do that my mm-hmm. first couple of stations, mm-hmm. and I mm-hmm. went crazy astray. Uh-huh. But because I did look for women to help me, but they weren't women in the church.
Yeah.
And it's not that they were bad women, but they were not giving me the priorities, that mm-hmm. I needed. Mm-hmm. And I had one girlfriend who was a Christian after I had my first job and we were at our first base. And she gave me great sound advice, and I still think of it to this day. Mm-hmm. That the Lord just, blessed me in having this girl be in my path. It is so very important, because what you said is also true. You're going to mostly be a single mom.
Yes.
As you're also a married person. Mm-hmm. And there is a strength that you're going to need to draw upon. Mm-hmm. And that strength is from the Lord.
Absolutely.
But you'll be able to find it. And it is, and that's not any different. I don't think it makes us, it's not really different than being a mom outside of the military. Mm-hmm. It's just that the military will put you in places where you don't have anybody.
Exactly.
And you're going to not have anybody many times. Mm-hmm. And it can get old and tiring. And,
something comes to mind. I remember, background, I have all of this education and this aspiration to be this businesswoman, and it's in me. And I used to get frustrated because being in Okinawa, right? Absolutely no family there. And I was frustrated because I'm a young mom. It cost more to put my kids in daycare than for me to go and start my career within the federal government.
Right.
And I remember being so frustrated mm-hmm. that God had put me in this place. I grew up military, and I told myself I will never marry a military man.
Never say never to
never
God.
Say never. and when we were dating, he wasn't in the military. We were in college. So I was bamboozled.
I was too. I was dating a baseball player. Somehow or another in the middle of that, he became a pilot. I don't know how that happened.
But I remember getting frustrated because there was these things on my career checklist that I couldn't accomplish because I didn't have my mom or my sisters there to help me take care and raise my kids. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in the pediatrician's weight room office with a brand new baby and a 2-year-old, and I'm looking at these magazines. They have all of these parent magazines, and just angry that I'm there. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it, and on the cover of that magazine it says, "Enjoy the time of where you're at," something to that sort. Mm-hmm. And I just started bawling. Mm-hmm. And I looked at my kids, and I'm like, I'm robbing myself of these precious early years being a mom, of being a mom.
Yes.
I need to enjoy where I'm at in that time. And sometimes being in this messiness, and I think every mom goes through that, just feeling like you're bound to motherhood, that you forget that these years go so quickly.
And take it from someone who knows.
Yes. And one of my mentors and my children's godmother said, Keisha, once they get to year 5, they don't really want to hang out with you anymore. So enjoy this now. And I didn't understand until my oldest son was turning 5 and wanted to go wherever dad went. And I'm like, oh,
that's
what she's talking about. He only comes when he wants to be fed,
Right.
And so enjoying those first 5 years, enjoying the time of allowing them to dress up in their flash uniform or costumes and just being crazy toddlers and being that mom that can be crazy with them as well too. I was so happy that I got that realization by baby number 2 while they were still in diapers, so I can enjoy it with the others.
That's a great piece of advice, you're right, not just to military moms, but to every mom. Because we do get so caught up in motherhood.
Yes.
The actual task of motherhood. And it is a task.
It is.
And it is a job, and it is a thankless job most often. And so we get caught up in that. And that extends beyond. It extends, as long as they're in your house.
Yes.
You can get so caught up in getting them to ballet or getting them to soccer and getting them to basketball and getting them to baseball and making sure they do their homework and all those tasks, along with doing the laundry and making sure the house is clean. And if your husband is in the military, then you're often doing that by yourself. And when the washer breaks, you're fixing the washer. And when the lawnmower breaks, you're fixing the lawnmower. And when they do a Pinewood Derby, you help them, even though, my poor boys, their little car went dink and never went down the thing because I could not build one. But I was the one who had to help them build it because Jeff was not there. So you get so caught up in those tasks that honestly, I remember, and I hate to admit this, I remember the car not rolling, but I don't remember building the car with my sons. I don't remember the time that we were there, and I'm sure we had a great time. The only thing I remember is the stress of trying to get that thing built, and then the disappointment when it wouldn't move during the middle of the Derby. I don't remember any of the rest of it, and I hate that I don't remember that because that was precious time that I spent with my boys that I don't remember because I was so caught up in the task.
Yes, exactly. And Alonso and I had this discussion about a month ago because he's still, in the military, still active in the military, and we have very active kids. The boys are all in sports. Selena's dance. They all play musical instruments. We were homeschooling up until January, which was a mad thing for me and our family. But they're very busy, and we found ourselves looking at people who don't have children and saying, wow, they have so much time.
Yes.
They could do all of these things. And we had to pause and have this discussion, like, we're coveting what they don't have.
Well stated.
And we need to stop that, because I remember going to the doctor's office right after we came back from our honeymoon, and I was, having some women's issues, and the doctor told me I would never be able to carry a child a full term.
Wow.
And I remember that, and I'm thinking, we're coveting these people who don't have children. They're at a season of their life because they don't have to do all of this extra running around amidst, everything else that God has put under your authority to do as well. And I was told I couldn't have children by a doctor, and now 4 kids later.
Yes.
4 healthy, beautiful kids later, all natural births.
And you're looking at somebody else's life who doesn't have them.
Exactly.
Wow, isn't that crazy?
Because you get so caught up in the nonsense. So now it's just like, no, okay, yep, we're going to music. We may be 2 minutes late because I had something else to do, but we're going to enjoy.
That's exactly
We're going to enjoy that ride.
So like everything else, and I've said this so often in many of the lessons that I've taught, it really is perspective.
Absolutely.
And as a military mom, yes, you're going to have a lot more challenges. There's going to be a whole lot more things that you're going to probably have to deal with time-wise, what's expected of you wise, the fact that things are going to be unfamiliar very often. You're going to continually go through these cycles of having to readjust. Yes, it is challenging. But if your perspective remains the way you've just described it, then you don't lose that time. It's all so precious. And if you can understand that your Father isn't in heaven saying, oh, darn it, she married a military guy, and now what am I going to do, because her life's going to be all messed up.
Yeah.
Instead, no, I've got her this wonderful spouse and this beautiful life and these wonderful children, and I want her to see all these blessings in them as she moves them toward me. Because like in any situation with a mom, our job is still the same.
Yes.
And that is to make kingdom builders.
Absolutely.
That's our job. It doesn't matter what
Absolutely.
city, state, country you're in.
Absolutely.
So it's really a matter of perspective. So Lakisha, as we close, one piece of advice that you would give a military mom, especially a young one.
Ooh, that word submissive, being submissive.
That S word.
That S word. And it's so funny. I was just having this discussion with my 11-year-old son that every time I would say, your dad has authority over you. And he would start cutting his eyes. And I can tell he just has a problem with that. So yesterday we were walking through scripture and I had him read Ephesians chapter 6, where it talks about the husband being over the wife and the wife should submit to the husband. And then I had him turn around and read chapter 5, where it says, honor thy mother and father and be obedient to them that are in the Lord. And he had a problem with that. And I had to tell him, your dad is the head of the household. I am to be submissive to him. And a lot of women cringe about that, but there is so much power in that.
Yes.
If you know how to hold your tongue and trust that God is working the things that he needs to work in your spouse, that submissiveness is going to draw your spouse closer to you.
Yes. And it's a submitting to the role, not the person.
Not the person. It's the role and the understanding.
Yes.
And when that happens, there's this level of respect that is built between you and your spouse.
Yes.
There's this enduring love that comes out of it. And it's not being submissive to if he's saying, women, go get me this, and women go. No, it is not.
It's
not allowing him to make the decisions for that household, and he'll give you the opportunity to voice your opinion. Oh, I don't think that may be right, but you're the head of the household.
Right.
That pressure that he has already is there. He does not need you to speak more into that.
And the modeling you do for your children.
Exactly.
Yes.
So for them to understand, my 11-year-old to understand that even me, all the things that he's seen his mom do, even me, I have to be submissive to my husband, that it now allows him to understand the structure of authority.
Very good.
As he goes out into the world. And it's just so important.
It is
so important.
That is so good. I'm glad you leave us with that, because it is. And if in the S word, I've taught an entire series on submission, and it's a very difficult thing. If you'll just remember, especially where your children are concerned, it is really submitting. Your husband is submitting to God in terms of his role. You're submitting to God in terms of your role.
Absolutely.
And then you're submitting to your husband's role, even as he submits to yours.
Yes.
And then your children then submit underneath that. And at the end of the day, what you're all submitting to is God. It really is this pipeline to God. So then again, there we are, building kingdom builders. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Lakisha.
You're welcome.
And I pray that any of our military moms out there, if you have anything that you'd like to add to this, obviously you can, comment underneath, but don't ever hesitate to get in touch with me through our website at debwaterbury.com. We have a prayer line there. We'd love to pray for you. But just, keep your head up, keep your head in there. God is not, he's going to turn his back on you, and he hadn't decided he's going to throw you a whole bunch of stuff that he's, thinks you can't handle. You have been given a beautiful job, just as every single mother has been given. And just because you may have to do it in a different country, different city, different place, has nothing to do with what your job still is. And you can model that kingdom building for your children. Well, God bless you. Pray you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you later. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Real Life with Deb Waterbury. I hope it's been a blessing to you as much as it was to me. If you want any of my books or information on articles or any of my speaking engagements, you can go to my website at debwaterbury.com. God bless you.